a production of the New Jersey Courts. Retired Supreme Court Associate Justice James H. Coleman Jr. was the first African American to serve on the New Jersey Supreme Court. He was nominated October 3, 1994 by then-Governor Christine Todd Whitman and was sworn in by Chief Justice Robert N. Wilentz on December 16th of that same year. Justice Coleman served as a New Jersey Workers' Compensation Court judge from 1964 until 1973, when he was appointed a judge of the Union County Court. He became a Superior Court judge in December 1978 and was promoted to the Appellate Division in March 1981. He was named a presiding Appellate Division judge in May 1987. Justice Coleman retired from the Supreme Court in 2003.
I actually have the distinguished honor of being Justice Coleman's very first Supreme Court law clerk. I interviewed with Justice Coleman to serve as his appellate division law clerk. He told me he was being considered for a few opportunities, and if he in fact were elevated to the Supreme Court, would I in fact mind serving with him as his Supreme Court law clerk? So, you know, it took me all of 2 seconds to say absolutely, without a doubt.
He is someone who is a friend of my father's, and I consider him a friend and definitely a mentor, and my sister had the privilege of clerking with him the first year he was on the appellate division.
Just a real kind of calm, gentlemanly figure, but then when you read the history, you realize how far he's come. He spanned a lot of eras.
I think he was an individual who was always extremely calm, no matter how frantic a situation could be. And I saw that through various situations. He always was very calm. And he always had a love for the law.
He had a high standard of excellence, and I think that drove me from the very start to be very, very determined to not only say it exactly how I want to convey it, but to make sure that there is no better way that I could possibly said it.
You're not just saying it's because, and you're just espousing what your thoughts are, but when you back it up with scientific proof, when you back it up with cases in other places. Without him being there, I don't think he would have had these changes, and many of these changes have now been adopted in other states throughout the country.
You can look at some of his more significant cases like the State versus Gilmore, or the summary judgment standard that he helped refine in Brill versus Guardian Life. Those standards live on. Even the United States, I think, looked to Gilmore when they were shaping the standards under Batson v. Kentucky.
It was a case that actually came out of Essex County, and it was State v. Gilmore, in which ultimately it was that you have challenged that it becomes a legal challenge if one side or the other decides to exclude. In that case, it was all black jurors. But it has now expanded. You now have reverse Gilmore for people that are trying to exclude what is considered all white jurors, or it's really used in various contexts now when one side or the other is making challenges, and it appears that they're either excluding all women, excluding all men.
His breadth of experience. Here's a jurist who starts out as a workers' comp judge. He goes to the county court, which is a level that doesn't exist in our system anymore, but probably equivalent to our municipal court. He becomes a Superior Court trial judge, then an appellate division judge, and finally a justice. And so he's pretty familiar with what happens to actual real litigants on the street. And I think that infused a lot of his writing and a lot of his opinions when he became a Supreme Court justice.
And I think it is from all of that background and all of his working and all of his history that he's was able to bring all of that forward to help New Jersey to put us on the map. When he started many things, he was the only person there. He was very often the voice of the voiceless. He is one of the principal authors of the report on minority concerns, which started the Minority Concerns Committee. It's very important, and I think what is his most significant thing is not only did he represented the state well and ensured that every population in New Jersey was represented.
That has become one of the national bellwethers in what's called the National Consortium on Equity and Fairness in the courts. And it really sprung out of what Chief Justice Valence and Judge Coleman's vision was for just remedying problems here in New Jersey. That, in my view, is one of his greatest influences in our court system. Our judiciary would be very different if he hadn't taken the lead to deal with issues that really weren't talked about at that time. Issues regarding gender equity, issues regarding how racial minorities were treated in the lower courts, perhaps in some rural areas of the state, even in urban areas of our state. Those things weren't really talked about. He brought it to light, but he did it in a professional, dignified way, in a way that encouraged all members of the judiciary to come together to fix it.
He had a very even-keeled and very mild judicial temperament, which I think served him well over the years. There's no doubt in my mind, being a judge myself now, that is one of the most essential qualities of a good judge, is the even-keeled judicial temperament to allow litigants, allow law clerks, allow all of those speaking to you an opportunity to be heard. I think at the end of the day, people can accept the fact that you disagree with them. I have litigants leaving my courtroom every day. Some of them will be victorious and win on their motions, others may lose. At the end of the day, the thing that I hope that they leave here saying is that he gave me the opportunity to be heard. He heard me, he listened to the arguments, and he ruled whatever way he felt he needed to rule. And that's what I got from Justice Coleman. He taught me very early on that you had to roll up your sleeves and do the work. You could not pass the buck in any of the work that we do here, that people and the decisions that we make affect the lives of real people, and we can't ever forget that.